Hello again, everyone. I'm your host, Chris Vainella, and welcome back to another episode of The Movie Year That Was, a movie year in review show where we talk about all the notable movies that came out in a certain calendar year and talk about our favorites and talk about our favorite lines and all the different things that we like about all of these movies. This year is going to be one of the biggest years we've ever covered on the show, probably the biggest year we've ever covered on in this podcast, and that is the movie year that was 1989. Lots and lots of big, popular movies that came out in this year, and it's going to take us a long time to cover all of them. This will be a multiple episode podcast year, so just strap in and get ready for a really long conversation. The person, of course, I'm having back as my guest after a little break. He's back to podcast with me and to talk about all the notable movies that came out in 1989. And that is my guest, Edward Schilling. So please join me and Edward as we begin our discussion on the movie year that was 1989. So welcome back to the show, back to the movie year that was Mr. Edward Schilling. Edward, how you doing?
Good.
All right, great. So have you listened to any of the other episodes since you were last on the program?
I have. I do not exactly recall which ones, but I have listened to some of them. Yes.
Because Keith, the other two people who have been on the show, Keith Sargent and Mark Baller, have both have only listened to their episodes.
No, I listened to Keith. I didn't listen to the one with Mark yet on it. Though. I haven't.
Actually, I don't know if that one's even aired yet at the time of this taping, but yeah. My only advice is listen to the other hosts because otherwise they won't listen to you either. So anyway, so this is one of the big years. I've decided to pick a year of movies that you've actually seen a lot of the movies that came out this year rather than the last time that we did this together. And this is one of the biggest years that we're going to cover on this show. And that is the movie year that was 1989. How did you feel about this year? This has a lot of really big movies in it. Yes?
That is a stacked year, to be honest with you.
Right? That's what I thought too. The big challenge, I think, with us covering this year is going to be separating what is actually great, objectively great, and what is nostalgically great. Like what is great because we have a sentimental, nostalgic feeling towards it. And I think that's going to be difficult to remain objective because these movies all came out when we were so young. I know I was 13 going on 14 in 1989. So very impressionable. A lot of these movies are very formative for me. Did you feel that way about a lot of these movies that came out in 89?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's certainly a lot that came out, and honestly, I was 17 at the time, so it was a peak year for just hitting the movies, no matter what.
Yeah. So, but so that's going to be the challenge. Every time we talking about a movie that we love, we have to think, is this objectively good, or do I just remember it as being great because it was fun when I was a kid?
Oh no, trust me, there's a lot on here. I just look at the list right off the bat, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not being objective about that at all.
That's true. That's true. So, I've changed the format a little bit since the last time you and I did this show, and I've taken a lead from my journalism friends, and I'm not going to bury the lead. I'm not going to bury all the best movies later into the podcast. We're going to lead with all the best stuff. So we're not going to spend time going through movies that we don't have anything to talk about. We're going to start off with all the best stuff. And if we have time later on, I'll get to some of the other movies that weren't as great. But I want to put all the best stuff. These are movies that are on both of our top 10 lists and are considered, I think, some of the most notable, some either the best movies or just the biggest movies from 1989. All right, so if you're ready to go, let's start the movie year that was 1989.
Sounds good.
So of the best stuff section, the first movie that shows up chronologically is a movie that we both love, and that is Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. How well do you remember Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, the first one?
Actually better than you imagine, because believe it or not, I had not seen it for a very long time. And when they recently came out with the newest film in the series, I actually went back and watched the other two just to be, up to date on it.
How I did watch the new one, and then I didn't go back to watch the old one. Did they try to like keep it tight? They try to like keep it like it all fits, like the three connect together.
Yeah, they really did. I mean, the plot of the third movie is essentially basically that they had a destiny that was mentioned in the other films, and they're trying to fulfill that
That's
destiny.
right. I remember
I mean,
that.
I kind of feel like it's a little bit of a loose film, but I mean, honestly, you come back this many years later, and you're going to have a lot of plot holes that you have to overcome, But I think they did the best they could with what they had.
How did Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure stack up when you went back and rewatched it? How does it hold up today?
I think it's still as much fun as it was. I mean, honestly, it's a odd little film, obviously about time travel, but it's goofy in a way that kind of makes it work better than most films about time travel really do.
Now we knew Keanu Reeves at this point in his career in 1989 because he had just done Parenthood, which I think was Parenthood his breakout performance.
If it's not, I would call it that. I mean, honestly,
Right.
I think that's one of his best movies, especially from his early in his career.
I don't think we knew who Keanu Reeves was before Parenthood. But this is a year later. Parenthood was no, Parenthood is this year. I'm sorry, I take that back. We're gonna talk about Parenthood later on in this episode. So technically speaking, this is the movie that put him on the map because this came out first. This came out before
Yeah.
Parenthood. So I take it back. Wow, how you like that? We've accidentally stumbled on the movie that discovered Keanu Reeves. All right. So I don't know why I thought that he was a known kind of a known commodity before this movie, but he wasn't. So him and Alex Winter play these two. I don't know. Then they talk like stoners, but they don't really smoke pot in this movie, right? They're not really stoners. They're valley
Uh,
kids. They're valley kids, right?
yeah,
That's what it
yeah,
is.
I would call them like Valley Kids, metalheads, surfers, almost. But
Right, right. And and they're kind of drifting along through high school, just trying. They're kind of doofuses and they're not really smart. And this a time traveler played by George Carlin shows up, telling them they want to be in a rock band, right? They want to what is it? What's the name of their
oh, Wild Stallions.
right? Wild Stallions, the name of their band that they want to form. So anyway, George Carlin shows up and says, you guys are going to write a song that's going to unite the whole world. And so you have to go and so why do they have to go time traveling again? Oh, because they need to do their history report. They have to pass their
Exactly. Yeah.
right. Because
Yeah.
if they don't pass their history report, then one of them is going to get sent away to military school and break up the band. And then in that case, the song that unites the world will never be written. And so that's why they have to do on this time traveling expedition. It's ridiculous, but you're right. It is fun. It's really funny. It has a ton of great lines in it. I remember the first thing I remember from this movie is when they're talking about, remember when I asked your mom to the prom? He's like, shut up, Ted.
Ted mom is cute though. Shut up, Ted. Remember when I asked her to the prom? Shut up, Ted.
I love that. I love that whole thing.
And there's such a great rhythm between Keanu and Alex too. They really just they're a great duo together.
Is there any one line or moment of the movie that really stands out for you?
I honestly, it's just the whole, them playing guitar a bit, that kind of, just the ridiculousness of they don't really have a band, but they really feel like they're in a band. So it's that whole, kind of deal. And, Wild Stallions rule, that kind of stuff. So it's high energy. I mean, especially in the concept that I think most people in their lives have kind of put together a band, but they really didn't have anything. So I think that kind of like really just stuck in my head as being fun.
The one thing, the line that always the scene that sticks out for me, there's a bunch, and I'll probably put a couple of clips from their stupid. They have so many funny, stupid lines in this movie, but there's one where they come back with all the people from the past, and they have to introduce them all to one of the stepmom. And she's so stupid. She's such a ditch too that she doesn't recognize any of these people from history. And they say this is Socrates instead of Socrates, and Bob Genghis Khan. And then they can't even come up with another name for him. And they said, and this is just Abraham Lincoln.
Beethoven.
Ah, Sie sind so schön, Madame.
And Maxine of Arc. Missy. Herman the Kid. Bob Genghis Khan. Socrates Johnson. Dennis Frood. And Abraham Lincoln.
Well, it's nice to meet you all.
I do get a kick out of the concept when they first get introduced to the Iron Maiden, and they're all stoked, and then they find out what it is.
Yeah. Oh man, there's a scene where they court the two women from the medieval times, and they like spout poetry, and it's the worst poetry of all time. It's like they're supposed to be these great songwriters, and they rhyme the word time with the word time. It's so fucking stupid.
Oh, you beautiful babes from England, for whom we have traveled through time. Will you go to the prom with us in San Dimas? We will have a most triumphant time. Way to go.
It's fucking ridiculous.
It really is, but that's honestly, it's the same thing that's worked on, so many other things. Cheech and Chong, Jay and Silent Bob, Dumb and Dumber. The stupider it gets, the better it gets.
Yeah, it's one of those great stupid funny movies. I don't like a lot of stupid funny movies, but this one I really like a lot. And like I said, there's probably a couple of more clips from this that I'll put in there.
While I agree that in time our band will be most triumphant, the truth is Wild Stallions will never be a super band until we have Eddie Van Halen on guitar.
Yes, Bill, but I do not believe we will get Eddie Van Halen until we have a triumphant video.
Ted, it's pointless to have a triumphant video before we even have decent instruments.
Well, how can we have decent instruments if we don't really even know how to play?
That is why we need Eddie Van Halen.
And that is why we need a triumphant video. Excellent!
And this is a sci-fi comedy, and because the time travel element, and they do kind of play with the space-time continuum a little bit, where they run into each other, where they see each other from the future or from the past or whatever, traveling in the phone booth that is their time travel time machine, whatever, and they tell each other to make sure you wind your watch, and that comes up later in the movie. So that's kind of cool. I like the way the time travel of it kind of fits, even for as stupid as the movie is. I don't think there is any plot holes as far as the time travel element of this movie. So I like that about it, and that's good. So Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. If you haven't seen it by now, you're missing out. You got to watch. It's very fun, really funny. So the next movie on the list, not ironically, but incidentally, was released on the same day as Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and this is one of your top 10 movies from this year, and that is The Burbs with Tom Hanks. So since this is on your top 10 list, you know how it works. You get first dibs on The Burbs.
The Burbs, honestly, it's a superb cast, no matter what. I mean, Tom Hanks, and as good of an actor as he is in drama, I miss some of his comedy days because he is just an outstanding comedian as well. But one of the things I love about it is just the concept that, you're trapped in this small cul-de-sac and everybody on it is just a nosy neighbor in everybody's business. And possibly the weirdest group of neighbors can move in, and they all just focus on that, and they blow things out of proportion and get into the bizarrest situations, assaulting trash, breaking into people's houses.
Yeah.
People are dead that aren't dead, it just completely goes off the rails. And it just goes to show like mob mentality of, oh, we don't know what's going on, so let's fill in the blanks.
There's a Corey Feldman. There's a good part for Corey Feldman in this movie. He's like the town, I don't know what he is. He's kind of he's an observer of everything that goes on in the town, and he finds it all so fascinating. He's kind of like a commentator to his girlfriend, I want to say, with some girl
Yeah.
that he's hanging out with, and he's kind of like the champion of. He's like Tom Hanks's champion. He really loves Tom Hanks and everything that he's doing, and he's really rooting for him. Carrie Fisher plays, I want to say, Tom Hanks's wife in this movie,
Yes.
right? So she hadn't shown up a lot. She shows up again later in this year, and we hadn't seen Carrie Fisher very much since the Star Wars movies. So it was very cool to see her in a movie. So it was like Tom Hanks and Princess Leia in a movie together, which I thought was kind of cool. And Bruce Dern plays one of Tom Hanks's friend, one of the other neighbors, right? He's like,
Yeah.
and Rick Dukerman, he was a stand-up comic, right, for a while. He was pretty famous in the 80s. He was a famous 80s comic, maybe early 90s comic, and I liked him a lot. He was in a couple of movies, and he had a bit part in Die Hard too. Oh, Die Hard
Yeah.
also, not Die Hard 2, Die Hard also. And so it was cool seeing him in this movie. But like I said, aside from Tom Hanks, and all of his scenes, and I got to go back. I'm sure there's something quotable from him in this movie because you're right. He's kind of like the everyday man who is suspicious of his neighbors, and how far does he actually want to take it, and how, and how suspicious is he, how far is he willing to take this suspicion of his, and he kind of starts to unravel, and he kind of goes a little bit round the bend by the end of the movie, but he does it in such a comic way. This was like the Money Pit character of his. They're kind of along the same vein. And as he gets more and more exacerbated as the movie goes on, you start to see more of the manic Tom Hanks, the funny manic Tom Hanks in this movie. That's what I think really stands out from this film.
I also love the concept that by the end of the film, hey, spoiler alert, but by the end of the film, it turns out he was completely right. They were all completely right about the neighbors.
Yep. I know that was kind of cool because the movie, you think it has a third act problem. It does kind of have it kind of fizzles out in a little bit in the third act. But it comes all around again. It saves itself by turning out that he's not he didn't just dream the whole thing, didn't just imagine the whole thing, and he actually was right about everything. So we have a lot of movies to cover, so I'm not going to dwell on anything too much. The next one that I wanted to put in this section was the movie Lean on Me. Did you have Lean on Me in your top 10?
Yeah, number 10.
So that's great. So I love this movie too, and this made my honorable mentions from this year. This played a lot on cable. I did not see this movie in the theater, and I was 13, so I'll have to remember which movies I did and didn't see in the movie theater. But I definitely did not see this one in the theater. But I saw it a lot because it played a lot on cable. How did you first see this movie in the theater or on cable?
Cable, yeah, definitely on cable.
Right, it was on all the time, and I haven't seen this in a long time, but I've seen it so many times that I feel like I know it backwards and forwards. Morgan Freeman plays the new principal on an inner city school, and he's got to shape the place up. He's got to get all the gangs out of the school and all the drugs out of the school and try to get the grades up of all the kids who are in the school so they get past the standardized test. And he has so many great moments in this movie. I was surprised. He's going to come up a bunch of different times in this podcast. He has a very big year. Morgan Freeman does in this movie. Robert Goulet also, not Robert Goulet. What's his name? The guy was Benson. What's his name?
Oh yeah, you're right. Robert Goulet.
Okay. He plays the principal, the superintendent, I guess.
Yeah.
He's Morgan Freeman's boss. And they have a great showdown. And he has a great scene where he's yelling at Morgan Freeman. And I'll put the clip in of it here where he says, if you're so high on discipline, then God damn it, start accepting some of mine.
Worry about the test scores. What the hell you think I'm worried about? End of discussion. Debate is over. You will write a formal apology. I will what? A formal apology for your treatment of Mrs. Elliott and Darnell and for your vicious and thoughtless insult to the women of this community. You will kowtow, you will step and fetch. Frank, if you think you can get me used to it, it's the way of the world. If you're so hot on discipline, then goddamn it, start by accepting mine.
And I love that scene from this movie. There's the other scene that I love from this movie is when Morgan Freeman is not yelling, but lecturing the teachers. And he has half the teachers stand on one side of the room and half of them stand on the other side of the room. And he has all of them put their hands up. You remember the scene I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And basically blames them for all the kids failing because they're not doing a good enough job teaching these kids. And if you don't shape up and start, doing your job, then these kids are all going to wind up with their hands up, except they're going to be on the other end of a gun. And that's
Everyone in this section, put both your hands above your heads. Raise your hands. Put them up. You people represent the 70% of our students who just failed the practice exam. 70%. But that is not their failure. I don't blame them. The failure is yours. Now look around at yourselves. Turn and look at yourselves. Because you are failing to educate them. This is the posture that many of our students will wind up in. Only they'll be staring down the barrel of a gun.
Was a great, incredible moment of this movie. It has a nice happy ending because the kids, spoiler alert, the kids actually do pass the standardized test. So, but this is a great performance by him. I think this is one of his even though it's, I think people like us know this movie, but I don't know where this stands on Morgan Freeman's, the list of all of Morgan Freeman's performances. Where do you think? Where do you think it ranks?
I think it is it's an early performance for him, and when you look at the body of his work, there's just so much good stuff on his list that it's hard to, it's easy to overlook this film is what the problem is because it's an early performance.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, because he has so many great performances. But I think this is one of his, maybe this could be in his top 10 of his great performances.
I love the scene on the rooftop where he's down dressing the kid who's with the gangbangers, and he's like, go ahead, jump, do it. If you're going to kill yourself, do it expeditiously. It's a good scene.
Yeah.
What that does to you? Huh? No, sir. It kills your brain cells, son. It kills your brain cells. Now, when you're destroying your brain cells, you're doing the same thing as killing yourself. You're just destroying it slower. Now, I say, if you want to kill yourself, don't fuck around with it. Go on and do it expeditiously. Now, go on and jump.
Sam's, the little fat kid, right? Remember him in this movie. So, that was Lean on Me. If you haven't had a chance to see Lean on Me, you should definitely see it. All these movies that we're putting in this section, if you haven't seen them, definitely go see them because they're all worth our recommendation. All right, this one you might not have seen. This next one. And because this is a little obscure, and this is a movie by Blake Edwards starring John Ritter called Skin Deep.
Rubenesque round women with big Mother Earth breasts and green eyes. God, I could go on and on. Don't. I'm getting a hard on. Me too.
Have you ever seen the movie Skin Deep?
I believe I saw it once on cable. I don't remember a ton about the movie, but I do believe I have seen it. Yeah.
This movie sneaks its way onto my top 200 list of all time. And it's on my top 10 list from this year. And right, isn't it? Oh yeah, it is. I had to go back and check, but it is right in the middle of my top 10 list. And John Ritter plays this struggling writer. And I fancied myself a writer back in 1989. So I identified with that. He's a womanizer and he's a drunk too. And so he has a relationship. He has a nice friendship with his bartender played by Vincent Gardenia. And he has a lot of great, John Ritter this is one of John Ritter's best performances, in my opinion. Maybe my favorite of all of his performances. And like I said, he plays a drunk and he has writer's block. And then he becomes impotent too. So all the things that he loves, aside from drinking, he's a failure at. He can't write, he can't drink, not drink, he can't screw, he can't write. So there's a scene where he's talking to his shrink, and he says, not being able to screw is like not being able to write. And then the shrink says, well, maybe the two are maybe the two have something to do with each other. And then he looks at the shrink and he goes, what the fuck does that mean?
I'm not the burning bush. I made a suggestion, not a commandment.
And then like one scene later, he's talking to the bartender and he says, not being able to screw, just the opposite. Like not being able to screw is like not being able to write. And then the bartender says, maybe the two are interrelated. And again, he says, what the fuck does that mean?
Not being able to write is like not being able to screw.
Well, maybe they sort of depend on each other.
What the fuck does that mean?
How the fuck do I know? I'm a bartender, not just a psychiatrist.
It's so funny. And there's a scene where his neighbors, his friends, I guess his friends, and his friends are constantly like laughing at how ridiculous that he is all the time. And he comes in, the famous line, if you ever see the preview for this movie, is that he comes in from the beach. They're at this beach house, and he walks into the room to talk to his friends, and he goes, I've got it. I finally figured it out. There is a God, and he's a gag writer. And at the same moment, this huge not tidal wave, but this huge wave crashes into this beach house. Like the tide comes in so badly that he gets almost washed away with this wave that is so big that it crashes through the living room of this house. And everybody in the room is now like half underwater because of this moment. And it happens just as he says, God is a gag writer.
You won't believe it, but there is a God, and he's a gag writer. What the
I guess referring to Blake Edwards, who is the director of this film. Blake Edwards did a lot of these kind of comedies where it's a lot of sight gags and a lot of physical comedy, which John Ritter was actually very good at in his career. I don't know how well you remember John Ritter's career.
I mean, obviously everybody remembers him from Three's Company and various other films. But yeah, he certainly was a very physical comedian.
So he perfectly fit in perfectly with a Blake Edwards movie. It was a shame that John Ritter died so young because he was actually a really talented comic actor. Another great scene in Skin Deep is when his ex-girlfriend gives him like electroshock. It's like something like this herbal wrap shock thing, and because she hates him so much, she turns all the dials way up too high. And then by the time he's done, he's all like jittery and he can barely walk. I can't put the clip in here because there's no audio to it, but it's just the whole walk of him to his car after he's been shocked that badly. Oh man, he hugs this blind person right in the middle of the street. Oh man, it is hilarious. So funny. And the other thing I got to put in here from Skin Deep is Have You Met Miss Jones? One of my favorite little songs that they put in this movie. He meets a woman named Miss Jones while he's playing the piano, and it's always a scene that I wish I knew how to play the piano just for a scene like this, where if I ever met a woman named Miss Jones, I could just start playing the piano and burst into the song, him and the bartender. It's so good. And I know Keith really appreciates this scene. He and I love the scene whenever it happens, and I gotta put it in here.
I'm a man who must be free. And all at once I lost my breath. And all at once was scared to death. And all at once I owned the earth and sky. Now I've met Miss Jones.
next movie is too big of a movie to leave off of this list, and I don't really remember it all the way through. I don't remember all the details of this movie, but I do remember it enough, and that is Heathers, with Winona Ryder and Christian Slater. How well do you remember Heathers?
I honestly don't think I've even seen it.
Wow, very big movie from 1989. And Winona Ryder had already been in Beetlejuice, and I guess we knew Christian Slater from a couple of different things. I think Pump Up the Volume. I don't know if Pump Up the Volume was yet. I don't know if we knew Pump Up the Volume yet. This may have been where Christian Slater came on the scene too. And so it's hard. I was hoping you might be able to fill in the gaps with the things I don't remember of Heathers, but basically it's a black comedy. I think this is about a woman who is in the school, and all these girls in the school, not everybody, but a lot of the girls in the school are all named Heather. And all these Heathers are kind of snooty, stuck up popular girls that look down upon a lot of the other girls that go to the school. And they're the popular girls. So the gist of this movie is that Christian Slater is like the bad boy, and he's justifying all these kids dying, and he's either killing them or making it look like suicide. That's what it is. He kills a lot of the people, a lot of the girls in this movie, a lot of different high schoolers in this movie, and he makes it all look like suicide. And that's how he keeps getting away with the murder. And Winona Ryder is obviously attracted to Christian Slater, but has to deal with the fact that she knows that he's a killer. So she has to deal with that. She's afraid for her life. At the same time, Christian Slater wants a relationship with her because they're both attracted to each other. So that's the black comedy of it. It's pretty morbid. It's kind of funny, and I'm not a big fan of this movie. It's a little too dark for me. And there are other Christian Slaters that I like better than this one, but it's way too big of a movie not to put it on this list.
Yeah, I know everybody loves the movie. I don't know why I've never seen it, but apparently just one of those gaps.
Okay, well, that's nothing new for you in this podcast, but it's fine. No, I'm sorry about how hard a time I gave you in a 1998 podcast. So
that was fun. Come on.
Okay, good. So so long as you were okay with it, that's cool.
Yeah.
So the next movie on the list, and I want to see whether no, it's not in your list, and you're not really a sports movie guy. However, this is a really good comedy sports movie, one of the better comedy sports movies ever, really, and that is Major League.
Have seen it. Yes.
Okay, good. You're right. This is a movie you don't have to like sports or baseball even to like Major League, because this is really funny. This is objectively funny, regardless of the fact that they're talking about baseball. There's some inside baseball stuff that if you know baseball, it's a little bit funnier, but for the most part, this is just clear and cut, great comedy. Tom Berenger and Charlie Sheen, Corbin Burnson, and Wesley Snipes. And again, I don't remember if we knew Wesley Snipes before Major League, right? This was like his first significant. I think this is his first significant movie.
Yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that comes before that.
89 is pretty early. That would be very, very early in his career. I don't think he was in anything else before, not anything significant. He may have been in some movies before Major League, but this was his first significant role. Very funny. He plays Willie Mays Hayes. Can't hit. He can run like the wind, though. He's very, very, very fast. And Charlie Sheen plays Wild Thing, Ricky Vaughn, and he's a wild pitcher. He throws the ball very, 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 very hard, but he's very, very wild. And Bob Uecker, who is actually the play-by-play man for the Brewers in real life, and he was on Mr. Belvedere too, but he was in real life, to this day, he's still the announcer for the Brewers. And he was in this movie, he plays the announcer of the Cleveland Indians. And the Cleveland Indians are bought by Margaret Whitten, who plays the new owner of the Indians. And she wants to move the Indians down to Florida. And so she wants the team to tank. She wants the team to fail. And so she brings on all these terrible players onto the team in the hopes that they'll finish in last place, and then she could sell the team and move the team to Florida. And so Tom Berenger is way too old to come back into the league. Was he a major leaguer? I think he used to be a major leaguer, and then he got sent down to the minors, and now he's past his prime, and they bring him back up because she wants really bad players in the league.
Yeah, she's just trying to stack the deck against everything.
Right. So I'm trying to remember all the great scenes from this movie. There's the one scene where Tom Berenger sees Rene Russo, who I cannot stand, by the way. I don't like Rene Russo in almost anything that she's in. And she's okay in this movie. I think of all the movies she's in, I think I could tolerate her best in this movie. But anyway, they used to date. They almost got married, but he cheated on her. So anyway, she's back in town, and he comes to see her, and they're at this restaurant, and Ricky Vaughn, who is like this real degenerate, just got out of jail in order to be on the team. And he's sitting there in this really fancy restaurant, and he has a like a cowboy tie? It's like a real tie.
Yeah.
It's like a little string tie.
Ties.
Yeah. And he's got his leather jacket on, right? The sleeveless leather jacket, no undershirt, I don't think. And he just has the little tie on. And the great line, do you know the line he says when he's in the restaurant?
I do not recall, no.
He says, "Oh man, I feel like a banker in this."
You look like a banker in this.
So then when Tom Berenger sees Rene Russo, he says, "That's my wife." He goes, "Does she know that?" He goes, "Well, it would have been if I hadn't screwed it up." And then Wesley Snipes says, "Who's that guy she's with?" And he goes, "I don't know." And then Charlie Sheen says, "You want me to drag him out of here? Kick the shit out of him."
God, she's with her. I don't know. He's not wearing a name tag. You want me to drag him out of here? Kick the shit out of him?
Just the delivery of that line is fucking priceless because Tom Berenger doesn't say anything. So Charlie Sheen just kind of shakes up like, no, I shouldn't do that. No, I shouldn't do that. No. So there are 100 great scenes like that in this movie. Bob Uecker's got a couple of great quotable lines in this movie when they're talking about the arrival, the guy from the Yankees. When he sneezes, he looks like a party favor.
Will bring up Haywood, who leads the league in most offensive categories, including nose hair. And this guy sneezes, he looks like a party favor.
He goes, "He's a convicted felon, isn't he?" And he goes, "It doesn't say here." And he goes, "Well, he should be."
Haywood's a convicted felon, isn't he, Monty?
Doesn't really say it here.
Well, he should be.
Yeah, Bob, considering the fact that he really isn't a major part of the movie, actually steals quite a bit of scenes.
Right? He's got a lot of screen time because he's the play-by-play announcer of the film.
Just a bit outside. He tried the corner in this. Ball 4. Ball 8. Low, and Vaughn has walked the bases loaded on 12 straight pitches. Boy, how can these guys lay off pitches that close?
So, and he really adds something to it. He's really great. This is the best movie he's ever been in. He hasn't been in many movies in his career.
Yeah.
Like I said, he had Mr. Belvedere, and he's still to this day the play-by-play announcer of the Brewers. But this is the best thing that he's ever been in. So the next movie on the list is on my top 10. It's not on yours. So now I'm curious as to how well you know this movie, and that is Say Anything.
Yeah! He's back.
Hey, my brother, can I buy a copy of your Hey Soul Classics?
You know what, brother? You have to go buy your own.
Hook it off the jab. Hook up.
Why can't you be his uncle and not his playmate?
As big of a fan as I am of him, I actually have never seen Say Anything either.
Of who? Of Cusack or of John Cusack? Okay. Even though you're a big fan of John Cusack, you haven't seen Say Anything.
No, yeah, I know that's a strange thing, and I mean I've seen some bad movies with John Cusack in it too.
This is one of the best ones. This is one of his best movies ever. And he's been in a couple of John Hughes movies prior to this one, and he'd even led a movie or two, I think. But this was a real breakout for him as a leading man, John Cusack in this movie. And you've got to see Say Anything. This should be a movie. This has got to be right on top of your list.
Yeah, I'm gonna make that a priority, to be honest.
Yeah, this is so good. He plays. He's just graduating from high school, and he's in love with the smartest girl in school, who's really pretty. Doesn't realize how pretty she is, and being played by Ione Skye. And Ione Skye is going to come up in a movie later on this year that I've got to talk about also. Ione Skye pretty much just had this year. We barely ever see her again after 1989, but
yeah,
she's so good in this. Yeah, they're both very good in this movie. They have great chemistry, and so they're a mismatched pair. They're an odd couple, I guess. Yeah, I guess is the best way to put it, because she's incredibly smart, and he's really, well, it's not that he isn't smart, but he isn't ambitious the way that she is. And so, like I said, they just graduated, and she only has a certain amount of time before she's supposed to go away to England on a fellowship that she won before being the smartest kid around. And one of the, she won a thing called the Reed Fellowship. And so anyway, so she only has a limited amount of time before she has to go away. So whatever relationship her and John Cusack have is kind of on a timer because, like I said, she's moving away. And at the very same time, her father, who's played by John Mahoney, who was the father on Frasier, the TV show Frasier, he is being not indicted, he's being audited. That's what it is. He's being audited for tax fraud. And so she feels guilty spending time with John Cusack while her father's going through all this stuff. So that puts a lot of pressure on their relationship, and ultimately they break up because of it. And it turns out, spoiler alert, he actually is guilty of all the tax fraud. I know you haven't seen this movie, and I'm spoiling it for you, but you've had how many years it's been, 20-something years to see this
it's
movie.
On me, man. It really is.
But so just know that there's a lot of great scenes in this movie. One thing, it's so small. It's such a small moment of the movie. But after John Cusack and Ione Skye break up, Cusack is hanging out with a couple of guys, right? A bunch of guys in the neighborhood, all of his age. Well, most of them his age. And one of them is played by Jeremy Piven, who Jeremy Piven and John Cusack team up in a bunch of different movies from here until the rest of their careers.
Give me my fire key! You must chill! You must chill! I have hidden your keys! Chill! I love you, man. All right, I love you too. Go to sleep. Before I'm buzzed. All right.
Anyway, they're all trying to comfort John Cusack in his time of need because he's just gotten broken up with. And all these different guys, one after the other, are telling him, listen, don't worry about it. You're a stallion. She's a show pony. And, you walk with us, you walk tall. We're going to take you to a kegger and all these different things. You got to find a girl that's just as hot as she is and bang her and then dump her. All these different stupid guy advice that they all give to him. And then there's one, 11 or 12-year-old is among the group. And all he says is, he goes, bitches, man.
All you gotta do is find a girl that looks just like her, nail her, and then dump her, man. Give her off your mind. Your only mistake is that you didn't dump her first. I had court as a show pony. You need a stallion, my friend. You walk with us and you walk tall. Walk tall, my man.
Bitches, man.
Let me give that kid a compliment.
Hey, dude, I better bail.
Later for you, Luke.
And then he leaves, and that's his pearl of wisdom. That's the pearl of wisdom from this 11-year-old is bitches, man. And it's always stuck with me. I've never forgotten that one small little moment. And there's the other moment I love from this movie. There's a lot of great moments. Oh, I love all the moments from this movie. Is when John Cusack is at a dinner and with John Mahoney and Ione Skye and a couple of Mahoney's friends. And it gets around to Lloyd, who's John Cusack's part in the movie. And Mahoney asks him, so what are your plans for the future? You know what I mean? What are you going to do with the rest of your life now you've graduated? And his line is so good. And it sets off Cusack for the rest of his career. This is like signature John Cusack. If you've seen enough Cusack movies to know the way he talks, he's along the same lines as Aykroyd and that he could talk a mile a minute, and it's all very articulate. It sounds so cool when he speaks. And he has one of those speeches in this scene where he goes, well, it's all pretty much out there for me. I know that I don't want to sell anything, buy anything, or process anything for a career. I don't want to buy anything sold or process anything sold, bought, or process, or sell anything bought or processed for a career. And that scene is hilarious.
I don't want to sell anything, buy anything, or process anything as a career. I don't want to sell anything bought or processed, or buy anything sold or processed, or process anything sold, bought, or processed, or repair anything sold, bought, or processed. You know, as a career, I don't want to do that. I don't know, I can't figure it all out tonight, so I'm just going to hang with your daughter.
And he has a lot of different rambling ons like that. And that really becomes the signature of John Cusack in his career. You know that about him from the other movies you've seen of his, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Gross Point Blank is the one where he does that. Like, it's nearly every scene he is. It's a big rambling scene of him just spouting off a big page of dialogue.
Right. I can only imagine how dense the pages of dialogue that Cusack has to read from, and because they know that he can do it because he's so good at these long stretches of really fast dialogue, which makes him one of my favorite actors of all time. We're gonna do one day. We're gonna do an episode of our favorite all-time actors, and he's gonna be on my list of my favorite all-time actors. He's attractive, but he's not like unrealistically attractive. Like you could imagine meeting somebody like him in real life, and even possibly even being friends with him. He's cool, but he's not so cool in his movies that you can't imagine ever not being a friend of his. I like that. I love that kind of everyday quality of Cusack in all of his movies, and it was definitely it really shone through in this movie. There are probably a couple of other great either lines or moments from this movie that I've forgotten that I just are escaping me at the moment that I'll put in here. The iconic moment from Say Anything is the boombox over his head scene, where they've broken up and John Cusack shows up at Ione Skye's house and he's got a boombox playing over his head, and he's playing "In Your Eyes" by Peter Gabriel. Although it's very powerful, romantic the very first time you see it, probably the first couple times you see it. It's been 33 years, and by now it's cliche. It's a great meme, but it doesn't really hold up after all these years. It's probably like the corniest part of the movie at this point, really. I'm not saying it's a bad part of the movie. It's just, if you are judging this movie based on, just that scene, then you're really missing out on the rest of the best that this movie has to offer. And the other great moment is when Cusack comes to visit Mahoney in prison once he gets sent away to prison. And that great scene with him, Mahoney yelling at Lloyd saying, "I don't deserve to have you as my go-between. I can't believe that my daughter has decided to champion mediocrity the way that she's championing in you." It's just, it just kills me every time I see it.
You all right, sir? You okay?
I'm incarcerated, Lloyd. I don't deserve to lose my daughter over this. I don't deserve to have you as my go-between. And I can't for the life of me figure out how she could choose to champion mediocrity the way she's learned to around you.
When you listen to these shows, how well do you like the audio clips from the movies?
Oh no, I like them. Yeah, I mean, it helps lend, it helps lend some credence to what we're talking about there, a frame of reference. So it works out nicely.
It's not too distracting that I quote. Sometimes I quote it exactly, and then it will be on right after me. Is that good, or should I not do that?
No, I think it's fine. I mean, it's a testament to our love of the films,
Yeah. No, I think so too. I pride myself on how I can recount some of these some of the lines of dialogue of some of these movies. All right, so the next movie is on my list and not on your list. So again, I'm crossing my fingers that you've seen this movie because it's one of the greatest movies ever, and that is Field of Dreams.
Hey, Annie! Annie, what was that?
I have, yes, I did see Field of Dreams. I enjoyed it. I don't know that I don't remember a lot from it beyond the fact that obviously, if you build it, they will come, and it's, populated by baseball players from the past, and it's a like almost like a spiritual magnet to bring his father back into the world for a moment. But it is definitely a great film. Yeah,
I've seen this movie many times. This stars Kevin Costner. He's the man who has to build the baseball field out of his corn and his cornfield. And like you said, he hears a mysterious voice telling him to build it and they will come. And Amy Madigan plays his wife. And James Earl Jones plays a significant part in this movie. He's a writer who's kind of like they were supposed to base him on Salman Rushdie, but they couldn't get Salman Rushdie to be in the movie. So they just kind of spun him off into that kind of a reclusive kind of writer character. And so that's how James Earl Jones gets into the movie. He has a wonderful bunch of different moments in this film. The baseball marking the times. America has rolled through like a steamroller, has been erased like a blackboard, rewritten and erased again. That whole scene is incredible.
The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball. America is ruled by like an army of steamrollers. It's been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again. But baseball has marked the time. This field, this game, is a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again. Oh, people will come, Ray. People will most definitely come.
If James Earl Jones had gotten nominated for an Oscar, I would not have been surprised for Best Supporting Actor from this movie, although he was not. And the other person who gives such a great performance that I was surprised that he didn't get nominated for this movie either, and that's Ray Liotta, who plays Shoeless Joe Jackson. So good. This is one of Liotta's best performances. Ray Liotta died this last year, and I remember thinking about trying to remember the movies that he was in, and I couldn't remember that many of them, but this one definitely stuck out as one of my favorites. There's Goodfellas and this movie. He's so great in this film, and he's quiet, and he's not like angry like he is in Goodfellas. He's totally the polar opposite of that in this movie, and he's wonderful. He looks a lot like Shoeless Joe, and I didn't know, obviously the man died well before I was ever born, so I don't know anything about Shoeless Joe Jackson, but I could only imagine that he was very much like the way that Ray Liotta played him in the movie, or at least I hope he is, because he is my memory of Shoeless Joe Jackson. When I think about Shoeless Joe Jackson, Ray Liotta's the person that I think of, because like I said, I have no memory of him before I was born.
It was a crowd rising to their feet. Ball was hit deep. I played for nothing.
The other person who's in this movie who has a really nice part is Burt Lancaster. Burt Lancaster plays like a doctor who they have to go find, Doc Graham, and they have to go find him. And it's there are a couple of supernatural, obviously there are a bunch of supernatural elements of this movie, but while Kevin Costner and James Earl Jones are traversing the country trying to find this guy, they go out, Kevin Costner goes out for a walk, and he stumbles into 1970, I want to say 72, and the year that Burt Lancaster's character was still around. Doc Brown was still around, and he meets him on the street, and he says to him, he talks to him about this one game that he got to play in the majors, and Burt Lancaster tells him the story of how he was in the majors, and it's a great, wonderful scene. And Kevin Costner asks him, if you could have one wish, if you could have one thing to do over again, what would you want to do? And so he tells him about how he wants to, be up and wink at the pitcher and get a shot, hit a shot in the gap and slide in third base. And he goes, let me ask you something, Ray Casella. Are you a person who could possibly grant such a wish? And he says, yes, I believe I can. And it's so good. I'm going to put a clip of it in here, and it's too good of a scene not to put in this part.
And now, Ray Casella, I want to ask you a question. What's so interesting about a half an inning that would make you come all the way from Iowa to talk to me about it 50 years after it happened?
I didn't really know till just now, but I think it's to ask you if you could do anything you wanted, if you could have a wish.
And that you're the kind of a man who could grant me that wish? And is there enough magic out there in the moonlight to make this dream come true?
What would you say if I said yes?
I think I'd actually believe you.
50 years ago, for 5 minutes, you came this close. I mean, it would kill some men to get that close to their dream and not touch it. They'd consider it a tragedy.
Son, if I'd only gotten to be a doctor for 5 minutes, now that would have been a tragedy.
And it's so good. I love every moment of this movie. It's one of the best feel-good movies of all time. There's another greatest feel-good movie of all time that comes up in this podcast too, and during this year. Two of the best feel-good movies of all time are in this year, and one of them, the other one, is really obscure, but this one is one of the best feel-good movies ever. This movie was nominated for Best Picture, by the way. No nomination for anybody in it. Kevin Costner does not. I want to say that he does not get nominated for. No, he does not get nominated for actor. Nobody in this movie gets nominated for acting. I'm surprised.
That's a shame.
Yeah, because so many people are really good. Even Lancaster was surprised. He's the kind of performance that could have snagged a supporting actor nomination. But we'll talk about that when we get to the Oscars. And of course, the best the heartbreaking, not the heartbreaking, but the tearjerker scene of the movie is at the end, where he meets his father, but he realizes he built the whole thing for his father, so his father could come back. And you can hear Kevin Costner's voice break as he asks him, "Dad, do you want to have a catch?" And it's just there. You have to have, your heart has to be made of stone to not cry the first time you see this movie.
Hey, Dad? You want to have a catch? I'd like that.
Regardless, another movie where you don't have to be a baseball fan to love this baseball movie. So there's this.
Yeah. Honestly, the baseball is basically just a backdrop to an emotional story about a father and son, and their journey to connect. Really,
also a good father-daughter movie too. The daughter in this, the relationship the two of them have, is really good too. The one more thing that I want to mention, and I sometimes quote, is when the wife is talking about the fact that he's hearing these voices, and then she says to him, "What if it's an acid flashback?" And he says, "Oh, I've never took acid." So then she says, "Well, maybe you will one day. Maybe it's a flash forward."
You don't suppose it's like acid flashback or anything, do you?
I never took acid.
Well, maybe it was someday. It's like a flash forward.
So
good line.
Yeah, she has a bunch of good lines. The other one, when she talks about when she has that showdown with the woman about the book burning, about not book burning, but when they try to ban books. That's a great scene too. I'm going to put a quote of that in this part too.
Figured it out.
That was just like the 60s again.
I just figured it out.
Step outside, you Nazi.
I know.
Wonderful moment in the movie when she winds up sliding, when she takes down when she totally has the showdown with the other woman from the school. It's such great moment from this movie. One of the best movies ever. Definitely on my top one of my top 50 movies ever. Field of Dreams. Okay, so the next one is a little bit more obscure, although I think a lot of people have seen this movie. And this is on your top, this is on your top 10 list. I'm sorry, I have to keep referring back to it. And that is See No Evil, Hear No Evil.
Yes.
So you get first dibs on See No Evil, Hear No Evil because it's on your top 10.
Yeah, that actually ends up in my notables. It missed the top 10, but
Oh yeah, because we have a couple that match. So this is one of your extra fill-ins, right?
yeah. But I do. It is just. I mean, I believe it's the last film Wilder and Pryor made together, and it is one of those movies where they're just so polar opposite, and they play that on purpose, obviously. But they took what they had done before and threw a whole new twist on it by making one character deaf and one character blind.
Yeah.
And to have a blind man and a deaf man that are both comedians solving a mystery is a very odd combination.
Yeah.
They make it work for whatever reasons. They do make it work. It's very funny and yet still a good mystery as well.
Because they have to solve the mystery because they're witnesses to the murder, or I think one of them is, or something like that. And one of them couldn't hear it and the other one couldn't see it. So, but they have to solve this case because the murderers think that they're witnesses. That's what it is. The murderers think that they're witnesses. So they're on the run, and they wind up being on the run from the law. They wind up being on the run from the killers. And you're right. The two of them together are so funny. And they've always had great chemistry in all the movies that they've done together. I don't know how many movies they did together, at least four, probably like four different films that they did together. And I'm trying to remember anything from this movie that, to actually talk about the movie itself. And there's a very beautiful woman in this movie who's like the killer, like the female killer of this movie.
Yes.
It's really, she's very, very attractive. Joan Severance, Joan Marie Severance, another woman who we know her middle name. And she is very, very beautiful in this movie. Very, very sexual. Oh, we get our, not our first, but one of our first doses of Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey is the other murderer in this movie. And he's always very good at playing a bad guy in movies. And the two of them are, like I said, they're the killers. And so there's this scene where Gene Wilder, she comes out of the shower. That's what it is. She comes out of the shower wearing just a towel, and he has his hand in his pocket, but he has an erection. That's what it is. He's so turned on by her that he has an erection that is so hard. She thinks there's a gun in his pocket. She literally thinks there's a gun in his pocket. So he holds her at gunpoint with his erection, basically. It's such a great scene. So I'm going to go back over this film and just pick out a couple of different clips from this because it's really funny. They have a bunch of really funny lines.
What about you, wise ass? Was there or wasn't there a woman? What the hell do I have to do? Take you downstairs to a private room and ask you? Huh?
He's deaf. You have to be facing him.
Oh, Jesus. All right, no more bullshit. Was there or wasn't there a woman?
Are you serious?
Yes, I'm goddamn serious.
Fuzzy Wuzzy was a woman?
Oh, I know the one that I want that I definitely will put in here. And that is when they are being detained by the cops. And one like a medical examiner or something comes in and he says something about mens rea. I don't know. Do you remember the mens rea scene?
I do, but I can't remember the whole dialogue off the top of my head. But
so Gene Wilder, he's reading the lips of the guy. He's reading the guy's lips, and he doesn't. And so the guy's kind of he can't read his lips at one moment. So he explains what mens rea is, and it's some legal term. But Gene Wilder thinks it's some medical condition that he has, like he caught mens rea, and he thinks it's like cancer or something. And so he finally goes, "Can I get a separate blood test? Can we get separate blood tests to prove that I don't have mens rea?" So finally they drag him away, and he's screaming, and he's like, "Oh God, mens rea, mens rea! Oh God!" He thinks he's dying of mens rea. It's fucking hilarious.
Mens rea? Put the cuffs on him.
How could we have gotten mens rea? Don't worry about it.
Come on, get up, will you?
Did we take blood?
Would you get up for crying out loud? Get up.
Please rise. Can you do it without taking blood?
Stupid. He's deaf. You have to be facing him.
Mens rea! Oh! My God! No!
So fucking funny. Richard Pryor has a bunch of great scenes in this movie too, and now I'm remembering it as I almost gave up on remembering these parts, but I remember this one when he is at this conference and he's supposed to be this like health expert or whatever, and he's like posing as this health expert, and so they ask him, what do people stay? How do people best stay in shape? What are the people, your patients? What do they do? What's the key to them staying in shape? And he goes, "Oh, well, I would say it's fucking. Yeah, there's bicycling but mostly bicycling and swimming and everything, but it's mostly fucking." And they all go, "What? Fucking? Really?" He goes, "Yeah, the little hump the him thump."
Doctor, which exercise would you find most beneficial to geriatric sexuality?
Oh boy. Well, some of my patients prefer walking, some prefer bicycling, but for the best results, to guarantee satisfaction, most of them like fucking. Punta, punta, punta. I like it myself, 1 in the morning and late at night.
Because he's supposed to be like Swedish or something. Yeah, he's supposed to be posing as a Swedish doctor. That's what it is. And that scene kills me whenever he says that. Little humpta. So good.
So much good material for them to play with in that movie.
Yeah, obviously they ad-libbed a lot of that, and they just let them cook. But it's so good, and it's stupid. This is a stupid movie. It's not even a really good movie, actually. But it's definitely a watchable bad movie just because they're both so funny in it.
Yeah.
All right, so one more big one that I want to cover in this part, and that is my favorite movie of this year, and this is one of your favorite movies of this year, and that is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Oh my God. I know. So this is such a big movie. Now, Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark came out in 1981, it was directed by Spielberg and produced by George Lucas, and it starred Harrison Ford and as Indiana Jones, and wildly successful, nominated for Best Picture that year, and it made a star of everybody who was in it, and it's still considered one of the greatest adventure movies ever, and it was one of the first modern adventure movies, along with the Star Wars movies. Anyway, so the sequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark was Temple of Doom in 1984, and we'll go over that when we go over the 1984 episode, but it wasn't as well received. It was a little too jokey, a little bit uneven. I guess it was a little bit uneven. And they tried some stuff in that movie that just didn't work as classically as it did in Raiders of the Lost Ark. I still like Temple of Doom a lot. I like it more than most people do. But it is not as well received. And of the original trilogy of Indiana Jones movies, it's considered the least best of the three of them. So anyway, so in 1989, 5 years after Temple of Doom, they come out with a third part of the Indiana Jones movie of the series, and complete the trilogy. And this movie was significantly better than Temple of Doom, and it was and some people, I'm sure that for a long time, I know that I did for a long time, thought that this was my favorite of the Indiana Jones movies. What do you think?
Yeah, honestly, it's one of those rare cases in films where, as the series goes along, you really didn't have a misfire in any of those three films. Yes, maybe Temple of Doom didn't get the response they were hoping for, but it's still, it's still an Aces film, man. I mean, I really can't complain about that. But I think Last Crusade may have actually taken everything that worked from the first two films and actually seamed them together perfectly to make what at the time we thought was the final ride of Indy as much fun as possible and as much action packed as possible.
So you have all the stars align. You have Spielberg, greatest director of all time, in my opinion. You have George Lucas with all the great action adventure movies that he had done in his career, as coming off of the other Indiana Jones movies and all the Star Wars movies. And Harrison Ford, one of the best bankable actors in Hollywood, and he had already done this part in 2 different movies. And then on top of it, you add Sean Connery as Indiana Jones's father. And what's so interesting about that, I think the most interesting thing about that was that when they created Indiana Jones, when Lucas and Spielberg created Indiana Jones, what they wanted to do was imagine if James Bond was an archaeologist. And so the fact that the most famous person to play James Bond is Indiana Jones's father just adds a whole other layer to this whole thing.
Oh yeah, and I will also throw in there, a big geek of Jeffrey Boehm, the screenwriter for that movie. I mean, this guy had done Dead Zone, Inner Space, The Lost Boys, Funny Farm, the Lethal Weapon movies. To bring him in there and make that script as good as it was, I really think a lot of credit goes to him on that.
So the plot of this movie is simple, well, pretty simple. This man, Donovan, wants to enlist Indiana Jones to find the Holy Grail, the actual Holy Grail, the cup that cost the blood of Jesus Christ at the crucifixion. And Indiana Jones says, well, you really want my father. He's the one who is the expert in Grail mythology. And they say, well, yeah, we did go to your father. He is the project leader that is missing. So Indiana Jones takes up this mission, not really to find the Grail so much as he wants to find his father, because he's concerned. Him and his father are estranged over the many years. They had a falling out when they were younger after Indiana Jones's mother died. And, Sean Connery his father was too interested in the obsession over finding the Grail that he ignored his son as he was growing up.
I was a wonderful father. Did I ever tell you to eat up, go to bed, wash your ears, do your homework? No, I respected your privacy, and I taught you self-reliance.
What you taught me was that I was less important to you than people who'd been dead for 500 years in another country. And I learned it so well that we've hardly spoken for 20 years.
You left just when you were becoming interesting.
And so they were estranged. But anyway, Indiana Jones is very concerned about his father. So he's really not trying to find the Grail so much as he's trying to find his father in this movie. And so that's the plot. And he does find him, and they get in one incredible adventure after another, trying to escape the Nazis, who are the ones who are actually in pursuit of the Grail, and just trying to survive, just trying to live through this adventure. And the best thing I can say about this movie is that there's a stretch of this movie where every single action set piece adds to the next. This is the movie is the addition of all these different scenes added together that makes one of the great adventure movies of all time. Because you have the scene where I guess it starts when they escape the blimp, the Zeppelin, and they have to escape by the plane that's attached to the Zeppelin, and then he crashes the plane, and then they're running away from the Nazis. And there's that scene where Indiana Jones uses that pole as a joust, right? Yep. Like a jousting stick. That scene is amazing. And that scene goes into the tank scene, right? Which if the one scene wasn't big enough, the tank scene is even bigger than that. The scene where Indiana Jones is trying to rescue his father and Brody from Brody was in the original Indiana Jones movies too, from this tank, and Indiana Jones almost gets crushed along these rocks with this tank. And that scene is just an incredible fight sequence on top of this tank. And you think that because at the very end of the fight, it looks like Indiana Jones goes over the cliff with this tank. And for a moment, you think Indiana Jones died. For maybe about 10, 15 seconds, you think, oh my God, did Indiana Jones just die? He went over the cliff. He couldn't have possibly gotten off of this tank, right? Just the way that they shot it made it look like he definitely died on this tank. And so the rest of his group are all looking over the cliff. And Sean Connery is like regretting that he didn't tell his son he loved him or anything important.
And I never told him anything. I just wasn't ready, Marcus. 5 minutes would have been enough.
And all of a sudden you see Harrison Ford climb up the cliff because he was just hanging on, and he comes over and he looks down on everybody. It looks down where everybody else is looking, like, what are you guys all looking at? And they realize that he's alive. And you get that great father-son moment between Connery and Harrison Ford.
I thought I'd lost you, boy.
What the heck, you, sir? Well done. Come on.
And it's short-lived. And then, because then they have to go on the rest of that adventure. The other great part I'm going to mention about that scene before I talk about the next one is there's that great moment where his hat blows back up to him.
Yeah.
Because during the whole series, he keeps losing and finding his hat. His hat keeps coming back into his lap all the time. And so right before he goes over the cliff, his hat blows off of his head, and you think his hat's gone forever. And then right before they're about to go on the rest of their adventure, as he's sitting on the ground, the hat blows right up into his lap. It's so fucking funny. So anyway, if those two scenes weren't enough, you get the even greater scene after that where he has to get the Grail because Donovan has now shot his father and said, the only way your father is going to live is if you go after the Grail and get the Holy Grail, because the Grail has healing powers that can heal your father. So the only way your father can live is if you go through the challenges and get the Grail for us.
You can't save him when you're dead. The healing power of the Grail is the only thing that can save your father now. It's time to ask yourself what you believe.
So the reason that Harrison Ford and Sean Connery are trying to track down this Grail diary that Sean Connery has been keeping all these years is because it has in it these clues as they get past these challenges. And the way that Harrison Ford gets past the challenges is incredible. Very, very high intensity, very suspenseful. You don't think he's going to make it, even past the first challenge.
Man is humble before God. Man is humble. Kneels before God.
And he makes it past the first two challenges. And then the third challenge is such an amazing, amazing moment in the film. Is where he has to, it looks like he has this canyon between him and the other side. And he has no room to jump. Right? You remember this scene?
Yeah.
And he has no room to jump. He can't like run back and run ahead and jump. And even if he could, he wouldn't have been able to make it anyway. It's like, I don't know. It's way, way, way too far. It's like hundreds and hundreds of feet ahead of him at the other side of this canyon. And so the only way to make it across is to make a leap of faith, which goes against everything we know about Indiana Jones. He's a man of science. He's a man of, a man of archaeology and facts and figures, and he's not into the hocus pocus mumbo jumbo of religion. And so, but he has to believe that God will guide him safely to the other side of this canyon. And so all he could do is hold his breath. He holds his hand to his chest and he picks his foot up. And we're all in this theater thinking to ourselves, holy shit, he's going to fucking die. He's going to die. I was thoroughly convinced the first time I saw this movie that something was going to have to happen or else he was going to die. He's like praying for a miracle. And then he lands, he takes a step and he doesn't die. And you're thinking, holy shit, has this movie suddenly become supernatural? Is he floating on air Right? Is that what's happening now? Because the movie does a very good job of kind of staying grounded in reality. For as I don't know, I don't want to say fantastic as this. I mean, I guess it has some fantastical elements of this movie. He does this earlier in the movie. He shoots like 3 guys with 1 bullet, which kind of seems implausible that he did that. Just like even though earlier in the movie, when he looked at that gun, it didn't have any bullets in it. So how did he manage to shoot 3 people with the same bullet and from the same gun? But anyway, other than that, movie hadn't taken on any fantastical elements like this. But it turns out the movie's still grounded in reality, and he's not floating on air, and it was just an optical illusion. And there really was a stone bridge that it made it look like there was nothing in front of him because of the way you had to look at it. But if he had tried to jump, the bridge was so narrow, he never would have stayed on it. He would have died. So he was forced to just take this one step, and that guided him to the rest of the other side of this bridge. When I saw that, you add up the scenes, the jousting scene, the tank scene, and now this scene back to back to back. I'm in the theater thinking, this is the greatest fucking movie I've ever seen in my entire fucking life. I can't believe I am watching the greatest movie ever.
See, I'll take that even a step further because honestly, one of the things I will say, while I do love Raiders and I do love Temple, there are some dead spots in the movie where the action stops and it doesn't really, there's a lot of dialogue and it's kind of talky. Last Crusade really jumps right out of the gate with the whole story, the backstory of him when he's younger and Coronado's Cross and
River Phoenix.
It's all gas. There's no breaks. I mean, the whole thing is just one long action film with very little breaks explaining what's going on, but it's not needed because the film does that on its own. You don't need a big exposition scene.
Yeah, it's true. You're right that they took the elements of the first one and the second one and combined them, and they just trimmed out all of the little lean scenes that were in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Some of those scenes are actually very well acted, which I think is what makes that movie better critically received than this movie is. Because this movie, Last Crusade, is a little bit more fun, so it's funnier, and I think it's a little bit lighter.
Yeah.
Than Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is kind of a little bit more serious, and the tone of the movie is a little bit more darker than this movie. But this is definitely the funnest. This is so much fun because you're right. It's a juggernaut and it never stops. It just keeps going and going. And so I could see why some people like this one more than the original because it's even more fun than the original. And I love that. I'm glad you brought up that scene at the beginning because I forgot to mention River Phoenix because he's such a good Indiana Jones. This River Phoenix died when he was in his 20s, but he was still a teenager in this movie. And he's so perfect. He was so perfectly cast as Indiana Jones. That scene is a great scene with the train, him getting off the train in that movie. So you're right. Right from the beginning, we're set off and the action just keeps going and it barely ever stops. For no less than there's never a gap of more than maybe like 5 minutes between action scenes. So and that's wonderful. And then again, Indiana Jones figuring out what the Grail is a great scene, and Donovan drinking from the wrong cup and him dying, and that is a great special effect of how they have to like instantly age him to a skeleton in a matter of seconds. That is a fucked up scene. That is incredible. That scene freaked me out when I saw it. That was where this movie almost drifted into horror just for about like 15 seconds.
Yeah, it's also a nice throwback to Raiders as well. I mean, because the end of Raiders is very supernatural and almost a horror moment as well.
Right. So this movie, both those moments are kind of like the horror movie moments. Those moments would be great in any horror movie. You know, just as good as any horror movie moment in those two scenes. But anyway, this is all the great elements are in this movie. John Williams, of course, comes back and does the score for this film. And I never want to pass up an opportunity to talk about John Williams. He's the greatest film composer of all time. And this score is a little bit different, not much different. It has all the templates from all of the other Indiana Jones movies. And so it feels great to listen, just to listen to this movie, because all of the score is great. And it's like I said, it's a tiny bit different, but not so different that it is like, you know what I mean? It still has all of its roots in the original. So because the reason I mention is because John Williams is nominated again for best score for this movie, and he doesn't win, mostly because, not because it isn't a great score, but because it isn't different enough from the original. He had the same problem with the Star Wars movies, because he won best score for the original Star Wars for New Hope. But Empire Strikes Back, I think, is even a better score than the one from Star Wars. But he won for Star Wars because Empire wasn't different enough. And I think the same thing is true in this one, that his score is excellent. And it does have some differences from the original, but it's not different enough, because it still has the dun 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 dun, dun, that whole thing plays throughout most of the movie. So, but you can't watch an Indiana Jones movie without John Williams being such a significant part of this film.
Oh yeah, well, it's one of those things where it's kind of a trap. They definitely need to continue having elements that are familiar to the audiences, but by the same time, try to make it somewhat different. I mean, I've seen movies where they go in a completely different direction with the musical score, and sometimes it pays off, but most times it probably doesn't, because people will be like, "Where's the old familiar music?"
Yeah, that's true. I guess so. And but I think that's the thing that's so comforting and so thrilling about this film. And I think that's one of the things that makes me feel so good when I watch it, is, like I said, all those scenes back to back to back are great. And it all tied together with that wonderful John Williams score is what does it for me. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. The other thing I wanted to mention about this movie is Harrison Ford. I got to mention Harrison Ford here, because when I thought about it, again, like I said, we're going to do our favorite actors of all time, and maybe hopefully you'll be on that episode with me, along with a couple other people. Maybe I'll get all the guests that I've had in this show together for that episode. Anyway, I thought about Harrison Ford, and I thought, is Harrison Ford one of my great favorite actors of all time? And on the surface, I wouldn't think so. But you know what? I think I absolutely have to put him as one of my favorite actors ever, because he was in Empire Strikes Back, which is my favorite movie ever of all time. He was in Return of the Jedi, which is on my top 5. He is in Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is on my top 10. He's in Last Crusade, which is on my top 10. And he's in A New Hope, which is also my top 10. So half of my top 10 list of my favorite movies of all time are starring Harrison Ford. So I don't think it's fair for me not to put him on my favorite actor. That's something Tom Cruise cannot say. Tom Cruise is not on 5 of my favorite movies of all time. Harrison Ford is.
And you got to also think to yourself, I mean, even in that, I mean, the stuff that's not on your top list there, I mean, you know, we look at like Blade Runner, which is just basically an iconic Harrison Ford film, but an iconic sci-fi film that is still, to this day, people are still referencing, and people are still, you know, taking the looks and the ideas, and even his character, you know, that whole hard-boiled PI, you know, he's become so ingrained in so many different films and so many different categories. I mean, come on, the man even has a credit in horror with I can't remember the name of the film, but it was a good movie. What Lies Beneath. Which was a great movie as well. So it's one of those things where he has been able to do almost every genre that you can possibly come up with: action, adventure, comedy, romance, sci-fi, horror, you know. So it's hard to even just straight out drama. It's hard to, you know, like with Witness, you know, it's hard to stop and say Harrison Ford is not one of the greatest actors of all time.
Yeah. But I never put that into question, but I'd say for me personally, not just is he one of the greatest, he's also one of my favorites. And I wouldn't have said that because aside from those 5 movies, he doesn't really show up that often on the rest of my list. But because he's so prominent on the top of my favorite list of all time, congratulations, Harrison Ford. You are one of my top 5 favorite actors of all time. So, and I hope we gave enough time to Last Crusade, because it's such a wonderful film. It's, like I said, it's my favorite movie of this year. But but if we do cut it short, if we don't give it as much time, it's only because there are a ton of other great movies that came out this year. So this was the end of part 1 of this episode. I know we got to cover a lot of really great, fun movies, a lot of audio clips, and this was a really long part to this episode. So I got to break this up, and I'll be back again with hopefully maybe just the end of this conversation. I don't know if it's going to be 1 part more or 2 parts more. I'm not sure yet, but I'll try to squeeze it all into just a second part to this episode. But this has been such a great conversation, such a great episode. So many great fun movies in this part, and I can't wait for you guys to hear the rest of the movie year that was 1989. I'll see you again soon.